The Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve is another lost episode of Doctor Who. In fact, it is one of the 3 with no footage whatsoever for it. This 4-part story is yet another historical for Doctor Who, and it's fairly entertaining. I don't think I would go as far as to say that this episode does anything flat out wrong, but overall, it's fairly uneventful, and the whole thing just sort of happens. To the point where I honestly don't really know what to talk about. There are only 2 characters from this episode whose names I can remember, Anne and Dodo, although Dodo really wasn't a part of the actual story. So what's worth talking about is our main characters, of which we currently have 2. The Doctor is entertaining, as always in this one, although there is something I would like to mention about him in the spoiler section. I finally do have something to say about Steven, but sadly it does also involve spoilers as well, which sadly means I already have to move into spoilers. I wish there was something I could say about the plot and setting, but it just worked fine. I mean, it made for a couple of things that I liked at the end, but overall it was just fine, which is a shame because I was hoping for a really dark and atmospheric episode, which I didn't get, and I didn't need that as long as I got something really strong or just good, but overall it was just fine. So sadly, this is your spoiler warning, and if you want to avoid spoilers for this episode, then please skip ahead to the time shown on screen to avoid them. If you are sticking with me, then let's get right into the spoilers. So everything I want to talk about is in the last 10 minutes of this story, so I'll just go over it and explain why I liked it. So, we see, as the title suggests, that there is indeed a massacre, and Steven gets frustrated because the Doctor didn't save Anne. And the Doctor talks about not changing history, and we can clearly see their points of view in this conflict. So Steven says that he wants to leave at the next stop, and I felt like I finally understood him a bit. With this episode, I really felt like I got Steven, which is a good thing because in my previous reviews, somehow I just never really had anything to say about Steven. He was always just kind of there doing stuff, but I was never able to get a full picture of him. And even though I don't have a full picture of him now, I feel like I finally understand him. So after Steven leaves, then the Doctor gets an absolutely fantastic speech about how everybody leaves him. And we hear this old man all alone in his blue box, just being sad that everyone leaves and that they don't understand. It was easily my favorite moment of the entire episode, and I just wasn't expecting that at all. Shortly after, a woman called Dodo runs into the TARDIS, and we see Steven come shortly after her. They end up leaving, and we find out that she is the descendant of Anne. And at first I thought, oh my god, that is so unlikely. Does this show really want me to buy that, you know? But then I kind of thought about it, and with the context that New Who has added, this TARDIS takes them, you know, where the Doctor needs to go. So it took him somewhere where Steven would find that Anne had survived, and that would get the Doctor another companion to travel with. So I ended up actually really liking that element just because of my experience with New Who. I thought that made it make sense, whereas if I was just watching this show when it came out, I probably would have questioned that. Overall, this story doesn't do a lot for me. It's entertaining enough, but I will probably end up forgetting it. I enjoyed it for what it was and found some genuinely great stuff in the end of the story. There was a great moment with the Doctor, and I feel like I better understand Steven. So, The Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve earns a rating of 7.25 out of 10. If you join me again this coming Sunday, then I will be bringing you another Doctor Who ranking video. I have no idea exactly what I'm doing that Sunday at the time of recording this, but I assure you there will be a Doctor Who ranking video. So we'll both find out what that is, although I'll know before you, of course. So anyway, yeah, I hope to see you that Sunday. Thank you for watching. Take care, and have a lovely week.